GameGettersVinegar here. In this video I'm going to talk about a number of different things. I'm going to be talking about basically overall kind of getting better at the game. Now I'm going to start off talking about settings and aiming, then I'm going to talk about awareness, then picking the right role for the situation, and finally just thinking about how to play. So first things first, I'm going to mention, as I say, settings and aiming. Now to start off with, I'm just going to nip onto my mouse software, and I'm just going to point out a couple of things. First of all, DPI, how sensitive it is. I've got that in the middle state. I'll talk about why that is shortly when I'm in game. The report rate, how often it kind of tells me where my mouse is, tells the computer where my mouse is on the higher setting, so it's as smooth and as accurate as possible. Now I've turned off mouse acceleration because I hate it. I just installed a different game and I had to turn it off immediately because it felt like I was drunk because it was turned on in the game. Now I'm going to jump in game, as I say. While I'm doing this, I want to talk about FPS. Now FPS is pretty important because if your FPS is crap, if it's like below 30 or so, you're going to have problems seeing things quickly, you're going to have problems tracking targets and things like that, and so you want to try and keep it above 30 at all times. I mean, ideally up around 60. Now you want to make sure, the main thing that's going to make an effect on that is your game hardware, is your computer hardware, so your graphics card, your CPU. PlanetSide is incredibly CPU dependent. You also want to make sure that you've got yourself a SSD drive if you can, because, and especially for Windows as well, because it makes it super quick, but it also decreases your load times. I mean, before, back in beta, when I didn't have an SSD drive, it would take me sometimes 45 seconds to get into the game. As you can see there, it took me maybe 5-10 seconds, I don't know. Now with the game settings, you want to make sure that you've got it set to, I mean, mouse wise, I've got my sensitivity like this. There are arguments that you have a lower sensitivity if you want to get better, and I mean, arguments against that, but most people say that the lower your mouse sensitivity, the more you've got to move your mouse on the key, on your mouse pad on your desk, the more accurate you are going to be, the better you will be able to potentially play. I'm nudging mine down every day by just 0.01 to get used to it and make the change gradual, and that has decreased my my performance overall, I would argue, because it is a difference to what I'm used to, but ultimately it should make me a better player. I've also I've ticked use raw mouse input, which should ignore the Logitech settings that I mentioned. I might play around with this reduced input lag. I don't know what that does. I've not looked into it, but well, I might try that on or off. I don't know. What else have I got on here? I've also, that's it on there actually. So that's talking about mouse settings. Now graphic settings, as I just mentioned, FPS is pretty important. As you can see, I've got one very customized. I've got things medium, high, or even off for things like Flora, which stops you from seeing mines, stops you seeing over the edge of ridges, that kind of thing, and that bothered me, so I turned that off. I also turned off bloom because that washes out my screen at night, I find. So by turning that off, if there's a light, it doesn't blind me effectively. What else have I got on here? I've got my render distance at max. That kills performance, but it means that I can see a Liberator coming in the distance and I can take cover. Vertical field of view I've got as maximum because that increases my peripheral vision. Interestingly, if I put that all the way down, that does make things larger, so say scoring headshots might be easier if it was all the way down at the bottom, but I prefer the peripheral vision because that lets me, as I'm taking a point, it lets me look at perhaps both doorways or a doorway and a window rather than just one of those things at any time. Right, so that's those settings. Now I'm going to nip into VR training if I can, so I'm just going to spawn in at the warp gate and show you a couple of different things. Now in VR training it lets me pick all my different guns. Actually no, I'm not going to go into VR training, I'm just going to do it in the warp gate because there's a firing range here, so let's have a quick look at that. Now what class am I? Infiltrator. I don't want to be an infiltrator. So I'm just going to jump in here, I'm going to go heavy assault, and I'm going to just grab this Beetlejuice, this fancy gun I just unlocked, which is, there's the firing range there over there, perfect. Now, with aiming, you want to make sure that you're comfortable. As I said, I've been adjusting my sensitivity down, so I'm feeling slightly more sluggish than usual. However, it's only a very small change, so I should be able to cope just fine. Now, with this quite nice firing range that we've got here, I've obviously got lots of targets. Now you want to make sure that you can swiftly move between hitting your targets. So just pick them, choose them, move from one to one, and just be able to aim with it. And obviously these targets don't fire back, they're not moving, and they're just kind of static, which is great for practicing. Obviously it's not hugely beneficial, but it will mean that you can just practice using your mouse, using your gun. And every day when I'm changing my mouse settings, I'm going to be coming back here or into VR, or just like shooting the fence, or hug that wall, or just shooting, I don't know, cactuses, whatever these things are, these glowy fruits, and just practicing my shots, making sure I can aim. Now you want to make sure that you can just turn quickly and effectively and move around well, because if you're drunkenly leering all over the place, that's going to slow down your character. You're not going to be able to move as well, you're not going to move smoothly, and it's going to affect you. So you want to just practice aiming. I mean, just doing it for a minute every so often will help you, particularly if you're changing weapons. Now, I would argue that you also use stick with a gun. Personally, I Araxium my different weapons, and that means that I get a lot of practice. If you look at my LMGs and those kind of things, I've got a lot of Araxiums here because this is what I do. I like getting these medals, and it works out for me because the more I practice with a gun, the better I get. Now, there's some people that have stuck with their weapons for 25, 40,000 kills, whatever, and they are understandably incredibly good with them because they have practiced a huge amount. Now, with the Beetlejuice, I've only got, well, what does it say, 62 kills with it, so I've not been playing with it a huge amount. It's obviously a variant of the Orion, isn't it, and that means that I have actually played with it before, but it is subtly different in different ways. And you can't choose your scopes. Now, if say I go for my light assault, now with the Serpent here, I've almost Araxiumed my Serpent, and I've gone with the night vision sight because I quite like the night vision sights because it lets me pick my targets well. Although with the Serpent being a close range SMG, really you want to be aiming for the head. You want to be making sure that you can do things very, very close, very quick, and it puts out a lot of damage very quickly. And the kind of ranges that you're using it, the only reason I'm going to be using a scope is when I'm at a reasonable distance away where the accuracy is important and I've got time to aim. And so from close range with the Serpent, I'll hip fire. If I'm mid-range or anywhere further than close range, I'm going to be using the scope. And so the extra second or so it takes to zoom in with the night vision scope, I find worth it. It also helps with target acquisition, spotting where people are hiding, that kind of thing. So I find it incredibly useful. Now, you want to try out different scopes for you. Now, there is a problem at the moment with iron sights being basically the only sights that work properly when you're kind of moving around, but with the night vision scopes, I think the effect's lessened, but that should be fixed in the next patch or so anyway. Right, now apart from that, I'm going to jump in game. I'm going to show you a couple of things. Now, the next thing I want to talk about really is awareness. So I'm going to find myself a fight, and I'm going to hopefully not get slaughtered, and show you how awareness, well, basically works. Is there a decent fight on Hosin? Not especially. I think we need to go to Indar if you want a decent fight. So let's try instant action. Where's that going to take me? Ew, I don't want to go there. Cancel. Okay, let's get over to Indar, and we'll see if we can't find a half decent fight to play in, and show you a couple of things. Now, the first thing I want to mention as we talk about awareness is your minimap. Now, I always play with my minimap huge. I mean, I'm talking that size. So you press H by default, and that opens it up like that. I've also bound to mouse wheel the zoom in, zoom out, which I find incredibly useful because it means that when I'm in a close range fight, I can just, well, as you can see there, I zoomed in all the way. Now I'm going to drop into the old, no, I don't want to drop into the old stockpile either. Looks like I'm going to have to, I'm going to spawn in just here. Will I? Yeah, because then we can start pushing up. Because if I dropped into the old stockpile, there's too many people there for me to make a huge difference. So I'm going to drop in at the Fellswell Canyon base in here. Now, as this is on top of a ridge, I'm going to try using a sniper rifle, and I can demonstrate how bad I am as a sniper. But with the, I'm going to run the opposite direction. So now with this fight, I don't really know what the situation is, but looking at the minimap, you can instantly tell that we've got a lot of forces pushing north, and we are generally doing, it seems to be okay. Now, we've got an enemy spawn beacon down here, which I'm hoping this light assault here will take it out at some point today, hopefully. Okay. Now, as I'm advancing, I'm looking at my minimap. I'm checking where all the friendly forces are. The sides are just kind of ambling around, so there's no real threat from aircraft, it appears. And I'm checking around myself, and I'm also listening. Now, these sides are getting taken out. It looks like there's a bit of a stalemate at this ridge. So what we'll do is we'll have a look and poke our head over the top and see what there is to see. Now, obviously, as I'm playing an infiltrator, I'm going to hit my cloak as I go over, because I obviously don't know what's down here. Okay, really should have gone for the headshot there, but I figured he was going to move, so I just went for the sure thing body shot. Now, he's jiggling around. So, with both of those kills, really I should have gone for the headshot. As I say, I am not the best of snipers, and that's probably showing itself. Now, with awareness, there's a couple of things that can really help. I mean, as a cloaker, I can fire off some motion sensors, and that's going to point out where all the enemies are in this area, unless they've got like implants or whatnot. But anyway, that'll allow me to see. It also shows all my friends as well where the enemy are, which is incredibly useful, and it aids with awareness, and that is plain and simple, stupidly useful, because people do not check their mini-maps. They don't listen. I mean, some people play the music on, and I could not imagine doing that, because it would just completely mess up my performance, because I need to be able to hear where the enemy is. I need to be able to see what's going on. I need to be able to hear what's going on. It's just as important. Even footsteps give away the enemy and tell me where they are. So, jump jets cloaking, the sounds of enemies cloaking. I mean, once you learn the sound that a TR cloaker makes, you're going to react instantly to hearing that. You're going to hunt them down, and you're going to make sure that you are safe rather than letting them hit you at some point. So, I heard that bullet from the cloaker before I even got hit by it, and really what I should have done is I should have moved instantly, but it took me a second to respond. Luckily, he's not great, went for the body shot just like me. So, let's get some more darts up, see where these enemies are hiding. Saw a rocket coming off, that obviously means there's one there. Now really I'm going close range. Infiltrator is not really the best for this situation at all, well at least not for me, not with a sniper rifle. So let's see how badly I can do. Now I'm looking at my minimap, checking it out. Don't know where that guy went. There's a few of these prox mines around. Why is that infiltrator hanging around me? Don't know. Let's just run around here, checking this out. Could go for the point, which would be quite good. However, I might try and slow down their defense by hacking this terminal. Oh god. And that's why you don't try and do things with a 6x scope. So again, getting the sensor darts out, see that these guys are coming up, chuck a grenade, get out of there. Yeesh. Yeah, as I said, really close range. I'm not a close range infiltrator. I'm pretty bad at it. So let's jump in as heavy assault. That should be a little bit more effective. Now, I'm picking heavy assault because it's versatile. It allows me to do a number of different things. It allows me to kill vehicles, allows me to kill infantry effectively, maxes, whatever. Whatever comes at me, I can take it out. I mean, I've got a decimator on this, and that's definitely my go-to rocket launcher for anything, be it air or whatever, because it gets the job done, it packs a huge punch, and super effective. Now, let's have a quick look now. So we've got a guy right there. Now, I mentioned that I'm with this Araxium gun, this Beetlejuice. I'm not experienced with it. Really, if I want to do well, I'd be using a different gun. But I'm getting used to it. It's very similar to the Orion. With the picking the right role for the situation, which I was trying to talk about before I got distracted with these enemies, it's really kind of comes down to what situation you're in. I mean, if say at this point, say if we can't hold it, what I'd be trying to do is I might use a medic if we're getting killed a lot and we've got no medics around. I might use engineer if we're running out of ammunition as we try and hold it. I might be using maxes if we're heavily outnumbered. Max is a good force multiplier, and that would give us a better chance of winning. Infiltrators really useful for darts. If no one's got any darts out, that would be massively useful. Light assaults, if it's a tower fight, again are pretty handy because you disrupt the enemy really effectively with it. Now, in a field fight, you might choose tanks. Where the hell did he come from? You might choose tanks if you are facing a lot of infantry coming in, or if you're facing enemy tanks. If you've got a lot of air around, you also need to be thinking about using anti-air, or you're up to bringing your own air to the fight as well, because that. Ooh. Now again, use my minimap, seeing that there's an enemy around. Can't see him though. There he is. What's he doing? So, using the minimap, seeing what's around, spotting that these enemies are running around. So I'm looking at the minimap there. They're going around the Alpha building. So I probably don't need to go and help them out because they are working. Well, there's a lot of VS in there, and they should be able to cope with that. A couple of enemies that went in there. I got 3 enemies coming at me here. Ooh, threw a grenade at me. Cheeky. But yeah, so with I've talked about roles. Next thing I want to talk about is thinking, just thinking how to play. So as I'm doing stuff here, I've got this ranged fight. I'm not used to this Beetlejuice, so I'm kind of using it at mid-range here. It's certainly not long range, and I seem to be doing pretty effectively with it. But I am running out of ammo, so I need to go and pick up some more before I get trapped with just my commissioner, which is decent, but not as good as I want it to be. When I could. Oh, no one's dropped any ammo. So if I was going to respawn in, I might respawn as an engineer, because with no ammo, well, we're going to run into problems. But anyway, yeah. So you need to know when to fire and when not to fire. So you want to be sure of the kill effectively. You want to be sure of the kill before you fire. You want to make sure that you can get it. Because if you fire and you can't get the kill, you're not going to guarantee that person's then not going to report your position to the enemy, or mention, or just simply take you out. So you want to make sure that you're playing conservatively and being smart. If you need to have patience, so taking the shot when you can guarantee it rather than just waiting for just firing immediately, then great. If you're playing as a squad, which I recommend you always should be, you want to make sure that you are actually playing with them. So have them nearby, make sure that they are you're working together, because ultimately teamwork is overpowered when it comes down to it, and that is basically that. So I've rattled through everything I wanted to today. If you've enjoyed this video, just sorry I rambled a bit, but I'm trying to do it all in one continuous take because I quite like the way that works. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you have, like, subscribe, whatever, you know the drill. Right, thank you very much.